And welcome once again to Functional Medicine with me, Dr. Howard Robbins. Our show is dedicated to safe and natural and effective ways of treating diseases and conditions that normally you might think can't be helped in any way at all, or certainly not eliminated. And we are able to eliminate them in almost every case. That's one of the most wonderful things about what we talk about. And today we have a very important and special show. It's likely just going to be part one. I don't think we'll even have a chance of finishing it today, but we'll give it our best shot. Before I get into the show on ozonated glycerin and why it's so important, and I hope you tell whoever's listening to this, everybody about this show, so you can listen to all the parts of on this particular subject. I have to thank my two sponsors. First, I'm going to thank Doctor's Biome. Doctor's Biome makes a very important and special probiotic beverage. What makes it special and important is all the bacteria are living in a 100% organic mint, kale, lettuce, cucumber, celery, apple, lemon juice, so it's delicious. There's a woman's health product also that they make that's amazing also, and all the same bacteria strains are living in a 100% organic watermelon, apple, pomegranate, strawberry juice with added organic cranberry, so it helps in the prevention and treatment of urinary tract infections, among other things. The fact is that all these bacteria are created to survive the stomach over 90%. I know you're already taking capsule, powder, and tablet probiotics. Trust me, if you've listened to my shows on this, it's been proven and documented that they're pretty much almost completely destroyed in the stomach if they come back to life out of the what do they call it? Suspended animation that they're placed in to begin with, when you freeze dry these things into a powder. So in any case, it's this is living bacteria created to survive the stomach, where the others are asleep and hoping to come back to life if they can. And then they're also called not only next generation bacteria, but they are also called how should I put it? Well, the actual term is smart probiotics. That means they're, to simplify it, created to stick to the wall of your gut and become part of us. You need to take probiotics every day because food that we drink, that we eat, and everything we drink is bad biome in it that we have to kill with the good boys. They sacrifice their lives for us. And if you use the code RADIO20, RADIO 20, you'll get 20% off your first order. After that, I'm saving everybody. I got a special deal from the company. You could use the code Howard35, my first name, Howard35, and get 10% off all future orders. And if you go on auto ship, you'll get an additional 10% off, so you'll maintain that 20% discount. It's not an inexpensive product, so it's well worth using those codes to save the money. And take this product every day. It'll make a major difference to your health. Not a maybe. And they give you 100% money back guarantee if you're not happy for any reason. How could you lose? Remember, Radio 20, then Howard 35 and auto ship. You won't be sorry, I promise you. Now, I'm also going to say thank you to PromoLife, my other sponsor. PromoLife makes ozonated machines and products. And because the show is very much going to be talking about some work that they've done at my strongest urging and suggestions on ozonated glycerin, I'm going to bring up bring this up later on, but I'm going to say that if you want to get ozonated glycerin from it, just mention the coupon code ROBINS, okay, when you call them at 888-742-3404. I'll give that number later again, 888-742-3404. Oh, by the way, Doctor's Biome, you got to go to DOCTORSBIOME, Doctor's Biome, doctorsbiome.com to get their product. Then when you call 888-742-3404, that's PromoLife's number. Remember to use the code Robbins, and you will now get 15% off your order on ozonated glycerin from them. And now we're going to get right into the show so you'll understand why this is such an important product. So let's start with what is glycerin, okay? If you don't understand the basics, then it's hard to understand the differences. So glycerin it's a type of carbohydrate. And this particular type is known as what they call a sugar alcohol or a polyol. It's an odorless liquid. It has a slightly sweet taste. It has a very thick, syrupy consistency. And while glycerin occurs naturally in plants through the fermentation of sugar, most of the glycerin nowadays is produced from hydrolysis of fats and oils. Ideally, you want to use organic, and that is very important because of the purity then that's going to come out. And palm oil, coconut oil, these are some of the base oils that are used to get glycerin from. But no matter where, as long as it's plant-based and it's organic, that's the way to go. And that's one of the things PromoLife, when we had discussions about this, were pressed by me to use, and that's what they've done. So their oil, and you're going to start to hear about ozonated glycerin, OG as they call it, and you're going to see why organic is the top, the cream of the crop there. Back in, believe it or not, in 1779, a doctor by the name of, a chemist actually, by the name of Scheele, excuse me, made the first attempt to produce glycerin. He was a Swedish chemist, and he was boiling a mixture of olive oil and another chemical containing lead, and then came up with this thick, transparent, oily mixture called glycerol due to its sweet taste. Glycos in Greek means sweet. So Scheele's method of preparation was used in the first commercial manufacturing of glycerin, which found uses in many different fields such as healthcare, cosmetics, and food. Unfortunately, I don't think it was pretty healthy at all. Even though it did have medical benefits, anything containing lead is something to avoid. And impurities had to be rampant back in those days. Today, glycerin is used in many commercial products, and generally it has to be at least 95% pure. There's different amounts of glycerin, and there can be other impurities in it. Unfortunately, the way it's made is not always the best, and that's where PromoLife came up with some brilliant strategies in manufacturing to make this the right way. Recently, I was out in California at my buddy Robert Rowan's office. I help him in group trainings of doctors. And in the group trainings, we train them in intravenous ozone therapy and prolo ozone therapy. You can listen to my shows on that as well. And Then he was going to have, in fact, it was just a few days ago from the time we're actually recording this, a whole, not a podcast, but a special, had to sign in and pay to get in, um, um, primer on ozonated glycerin. And he talked about how you could make it yourself. And yeah, you could go to PromoLife and get and you can call them up if this is what you want to do and get a medical ozone generator. Their Elite Plus model has is much more powerful, so you can really throw a lot of ozone into the glycerin. But it takes days to make even a small amount. You have to use medical grade oxygen. Absolutely, under no circumstances should you use an oxygen extractor. You know, they sell these devices that will take oxygen out of the ambient air and push it through, and it's not the right way to go. And in this discussion, there were things that left me uncomfortable. Perhaps I was wrong. I didn't think so, but um, the way they would test what came out was based on weight. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now, you'll understand why I'm taking you through this step by step. So you can find other impurities when you try to make your glycerin yourself, and particularly if you're not using organic glycerin. And you'll find salt in it, water in it, and other organic compounds. And hopefully it's been done in a purified and safe way, so there's nothing else in it. Now, if you're going to put ozone into that glycerin, when it's probably best to buy your own glycerin. You understand that. I hope you're catching that. You can buy glycerin, and if you're going to, make sure it's organic. That's the key thing if you want to try to make this yourself. But the US, the FDA has certified that glycerin is safe for human intake. Basically, it's been used for skin. Um, it moisturizes. That's what it does. It moisturizes. It's a humectant, and these are water-absorbing substances that keep things moist, particularly your skin, and that makes your skin soft and supple. All right, rather than dry and brittle. All right, and I read one study from 2017 uh, showing that glycerin is absolutely not just effective for skin, but an effective and safe, but an effective skin moisturizer. So keep in mind, skin generally has 5 layers, and the outermost layer, that's on your palms and soles, and 4 layers for the rest of your body. And the outermost layer of the skin is a very important. It's the vital layer of your skin when it comes to retaining moisture inside your body. Now, research shows that applying glycerin to the outer layer enhances its ability to retain moisture. I read a study from 2021, and you can find all these studies on PubMed.gov, our National Library of Medicine, for the most part. And a study from 2021 that I read found that glycerin not only boosts the outer layer of the skin's moisture retaining capabilities, but it also improves its structure. That's just plain glycerin now. But more research, yeah, they always need more research to understand the mechanisms that are involved, but who cares? They asked the most brilliant man here in the United States, what does he feel is the most important problem that we suffer from here in the USA? Is it a lack of knowledge or is it apathy? And his answer was, I don't know and I don't care. Well, I don't know and I don't care. For the sake of this show, you don't have to be a scientist to understand the mechanisms. Just know that it does it. Um, Glycerin also enhances your skin's ability to absorb moisture or water from the surrounding environment. Um, Another study that I read showed that glycerin has protective properties in countering skin irritants. So it sets up a not a bulletproof vest, but certainly a layer of protection that can be very, very important uh, to your skin. Uh, I just want to make sure that uh, while I'm recording all this, that we're getting everything we need. Uh, it's everything is complicated. So, in any case, uh, the you'll give me a second here, people. I'm the opposite of a techie, as I always say, and I'm trying to get some technical things fixed up here. All right, I think I'm back up and running now. Glycerin, just by itself, can protect your skin against various irritants, and it has like a restorative benefit to your skin. Um, what it does is it stimulates, it sort of triggers your skin's healing process. So it actually helps in healing injuries to your skin, um, cuts, wounds. And ozonated glycerin can even be put on burns. You might have to put on a diluted amount, but I will talk about that when we get to ozonating glycerin. Um, Now, uh, basically, it seems to be an important and vital, simple and safe, call it a chemical, normalizing your skin's outer layer and healing it. We're going to go to our first commercial break. And when we come back, we'll go over some of the other benefits of just glycerin itself, and you'll see why ozone has been able to um, not just enhance it, but just magnify its benefits, not just tenfold, but a millionfold. So, in any case, we're talking about the benefits just of plain glycerin. Then we're going to talk about the enhanced benefits of ozonating it. So now, um, uh, glycerin can relieve, just taking it orally may help in relieving constipation. It has laxative properties. Uh, there's research that shows that glycerin has mild stimulant properties that can improve your bowel movements and aid in your passage of stool. And it acts as a lubricant, basically. And if you feel it, you'll feel it almost feels greasy, but it's made from an oil. It would make sense. And it acts as a lubricant. And what it also does is it draws water to the hardened stool because it absorbs water. And if you take the glycerin, and we're looking to have ozonated glycerin capsules made, there's going to be a lot of stuff about this, and you're going to hear about it on the show. So keep listening. Um, um, so it can help when you have very hard stool. Remember, one of the most important functions of your large intestine is to reabsorb water. And most people walk around in a dehydrated state because they don't drink enough liquid. Well, this hardened stool is what is called constipation for the most part. Um, but not only does it make the stool softer again so you can move it easier, but it helps your bowel muscles push out the waste. Unbelievable. I mean, it's just amazing information. And I had no idea. I have to tell you, I've been in the alternative functional medicine world. And I started back in 1977 getting involved in that world in this world that I'm in, and nobody's ever talked about it. Here's a biggie, and this is what surprises the most out of me as well, because a big part of my medical practice for most of my years was sports medicine. I was one of the big names in it, actually, in podiatric sports medicine. So what a surprise when I found out that glycerin can improve your athletic performance. There is a number of research studies that show that glycerin can do this. One study they did over 10 years ago, over a decade ago, it was around 2012, I think it was, if I remember correctly. It's a study, they took about 40 participants, and they found that glycerin supplements enhanced the participants' ability to carry out physical tasks. Taking these supplements led to an increase in body weight. And the probable reason why you had a weight gain was due to water retention. And you need water if you're going to exercise. Another study from around the same time showed that taking glycerin and creatinine supplements improved your heart function. Okay. Now, glycerin. Now remember, I'm just talking about glycerin. I haven't gotten into the importance of ozonated OG yet, as we're all calling it. It's used in many, many different industries. I actually looked it up, and I saw that over 20,000 products contain glycerin, from lipstick and bath soaps, detergents. I mentioned skincare products, and there are baby products and eye creams and shaving products, hair conditioners, oral care products and oral medicines. It's used to as sweetener in candies and cookies. Of course, it has a pretty high sugar content. It has a solvent capabilities and a preservative in foods, so that's all natural. It's used in ice cream and toothpaste. Okay. Now, anything that sounds too good to be true often is too good to be true, and that's what ozone suffers from, because the rule is, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. Well, it's not. I mean, there are also possible side effects, adverse effects from glycerin. First of all, you could be allergic to it, and allergic reactions have been reported in different preparations. I believe the allergic reactions are not from pure glycerin, because there are chemicals that were left in the glycerin in the manner in which it was made. And that's why you have to be careful if you're going to be making it yourself, and if you're going to read about and hear about making it yourself. My opinion is, think twice and then think twice again, and don't do it. You can go to PromoLife and use the coupon code ROBINS. You call them at 888-742-3404. 888-742-3404. I hope this doesn't sound like an infomercial, but it probably does. And you can use the code ROBINS, you get 15% off your order. In any case, there was one study that I read said that skin rashes occurred in an individual. And once again, I don't know that it was an allergy to glycerin, because the study wasn't clear about other aspects of it that I think are important to know. Now, I'm going to have to start getting into, that's enough on glycerin itself. So now ozonating glycerin became an interesting thing. Back in the year 2000, this is just a few years, 1900, the first paper was written showing the benefits of ozonated glycerin. It was called Glycerozone. And it had probably been using one of the new ozone generators from Nikola Tesla. Tesla made the first medical ozone generator in 1896, and it had been used medically up till then, but I can't find any great information on what kind of machines and exactly how they made it. I never really spent a lot of time researching it. I'm sure it is possible. But what happened, so way back, that's old. And then it was used for about 20 to 20 years or so, and then sort of fell away. It's kind of wild and weird. I'm always amazed by the brilliance of people back then. Who would have thought to ozonate glycerin? Why would you have thought to ozonate glycerin? It's just experiments that people did then, and then they used them medically and got amazing results. There's just mind-blowing about the brilliance of the medical world over a century ago compared to today, where they keep coming up with pharmaceuticals that are F&D, fast and dangerous. And what we're talking about is amazingly safe and effective. S&E, safe and effective. So anyway, Japanese researchers, basically, from what I've been able to discern, started studying the effects of ozonating vegetable glycerin starting around 2000-ish, 2001, around then. Their idea was to find a water-soluble substance that could hold on to ozone much longer than ozonating water. Ozonating water, if it's ice cold, will hold the ozone for just, 15, 20 minutes. And then as it warms up, just like if you're warming up carbonated water, seltzer, club soda, the bubbles come out, the gas comes out. So they wanted to find a way that could hold ozone longer. And by bubbling it through USP grade glycerin, they found a chemical reaction takes place over several days. And what happens is the glycerin gains weight. And after it's saturated, completely saturated, there is no more weight gain. Now, measuring the weight of the glycerin to say, okay, I fully ozonated it is good. But if it's not done under the right circumstances, the glycerin may start to pick up water from the air, that's in a room, and gain weight and not be fully ozonated. So that's one of the problems right there. It's a concern that Promolife seem to have overcome, and they don't measure to see whether or not it's been fully saturated by weight gain. They use other methods to prove that it's changed. Glycerin has a particular pH, and it's very hard for you to make your own and test the pH correctly. You need a device to do it correctly. And you want to change it from 6 and change down to like 1.5 and change. It's very acidic, even though it tastes sweet. And that's why it sometimes has to be diluted with, RO water or distilled water, which is very important if you're going to, dilute it. Basically, just so you should, help you understand, at sea level, there's a certain pressure. We're living in what's called 1 ATA, 1 atmosphere of pressure at sea level. As you go below water, that pressure increases. But at sea level, at 1 ATA, the glycerin, when you're ozonating, can gain as much as 10 milligrams per ml compared to just plain glycerin. So if you have, based on how much you're using, when it's fully ozonated, it should have 10 milligrams, and that's a humongous amount of ozone. That's a humongous amount of ozone. Ozone is measured in micrograms per ml or per cc. Micrograms. Okay? And 10 milligrams per ml is just amazing. It's 10 times what you normally can get just from the gas itself in any other way. Um, so that's what we want. Keep in mind, 10,000 milligrams per ml is the same as 10,000 micrograms per ml. And if I tried to use 10,000 micrograms of, per ml, if I could produce that, it would be absolutely phenomenal. And at the half-life of ozonated glycerin at room temperature is about 3 months, about 90 days. Now, what's interesting is, what is room temperature? I always ask that question. And people will say to me, oh, it's 70, 72 degrees. And my answer always is, no, it's whatever temperature the room is. If you happen to open up the window and you're living in Alaska, up at the North Pole or South Pole in winter, and you open up the window, you're going to be below zero. So it's whatever temperature the room is. But when we usually use the term room temperature, which is what you're going to read, you're looking at generally 72 degrees, 68 to 74. You get different opinions on that. So roughly speaking, if you just keep it at room temperature, it's 90 degrees. It lasts for 90 days. But if you refrigerate it, oh my God, it can last a hell of a lot longer. Now, why do you want to use it at all? And we're going to get into a lot more on it. We're just coming up to our commercial break, so I'm going to give you a teaser. It's antiviral, it's antibacterial, it's antifungal, it's antiprotozoal, it's anti-inflammatory, it's anti-neoplastic, it aids in tissue repair, in not just regeneration, but in differentiation. It has all these amazing benefits. And you have to wonder, why haven't we been using it before? So in any case, most of the research that's been coming out from Japan, and there is quite a bit, hundreds of articles have been published. It's basically been used on animals, as well as here in the U.S. And it was Jim Bridge, a retired veterinarian, who has done a lot of work with this. And I want to give a lot of credit to Jim, because he's the one who brought it into awareness in the medical ozone world. Glycerin has a standard pH of 6. Now, if you get litmus paper, what they found was, when they tried to use the litmus paper, it didn't change at all. Now, if you water it down, you may get it to start reacting better, but it can take quite a bit of time. My buddy Rowan finally got it to react overnight, but you don't want to waste your oxygen, and using an oxygen concentrator to make this is a big mistake. You don't want to use an oxygen concentrator. You want to use pure oxygen going through a medical ozone generator, like the PromoLife machine. Their Elite Plus, I think it's called. And you can knock it up to 100 micrograms per cc output, and you got to let it run. So you need a lot of oxygen. And that's at maybe a 16th or an eighth of a liter per minute. You got to look at the chart on there. So fortunately, you could use a very small amount of oxygen, per minute, but you got to let it run for several days. and you want it to be in a closed container of some kind. I see all sorts of issues around this. So the container has to have some method of venting. If pressure builds up in it, you don't want to have problems from that. So you have to have some sort of a vent put in. You don't want air to get in it, which can damage it or change it because air has all sorts of junk in it. It's just easier to buy it from Promo Life and use that code Robbins. That's what we're going to be doing for the intravenous and for all the stuff we're going to be talking about using it for. So I just repeated some things. For example, the standard pH of glycerin is 6. When you ozonate it properly, fully, it knocks it down to 1.5 to a 2. That's very acidic. That's about as acidic as your stomach, which allows the glycerin to survive your stomach. Now, if you were to take glycerin, try to swallow it, put it in a syringe without a needle and shoot it into your mouth, I'm going to talk about its uses and whatnot, probably it'll get absorbed on its way down and by the time it reaches the stomach. And that means the ozone is going to get to some great degree absorbed into your blood. So we're beginning to believe, and we're going to have to test it to see that oral glycerin, ozonated glycerin, oral OG, may be an extremely medical beneficial way to get ozone into your body. It's going to take time. Don't count your chickens till they hatch. It's going to take time to learn or to make certain of all this. And the way Promo Life tested this is by using a device that they can put into it so they know that it wasn't water that added weight to it. And you need, if you're going to make it, a scale that can measure the difference in the weight from the amount that you're making. Standard test strips, litmus paper, it just doesn't work. You need a device to really do it correctly. So they've been doing lots of research on this, and they found that as they started, making it and finding ways of figuring out the ozonation in it, they've been able to up the amount of ozone into humongous amounts of ozone per cc. Their batches have improved to where it's literally off the charts. And since they're ozonoids, they're held in there and they don't start breaking down if you refrigerate them. They'll last for extremely long periods of time from the date of manufacture. Okay? And, when they came up with the ORPs, the ozone-related parts per million, that's how they found out that refrigeration helps stabilize the breakdown. Refrigerated, Jim Bridge, I believe, said it could last a year without any breakdown at all. So it's good to keep it refrigerated if you can. They also came up with some, I came up and worked with them. They're making it in glass bottles. When people have been making it home, like Jim, they've been using plastics. I am concerned that there might be some leaching. Now, if you're going to put it in plastic, if you're going to make your own, put it in PET plastic, PETE plastic. PET plastic has been researched for decades. That's why they use it for Doctor's Biome. And on the bottom of every plastic container, there's a triangle. And if you look inside the triangle, there's a number. And if you look up that number rating system, you'll find out what it means and what it's being permitted to be used for. Only PET plastic gets the number 1. That's because it leaches absolutely nothing into the whatever has been placed in it. And that makes it extremely safe. It's been tested worldwide by many independent testing agencies to prove its safety. On the other hand, when you're dealing with something like ozone, which is so highly reactive, Putting it in glass seems to make sense. Now, can light affect it? Possibly. So putting it in uh, uh, colored glass, they're using a purple, medical, cool looking colored glass. Amber glass or ambered color is also good. It protects from light damaging it. Uh, so I think that was another additional thing they did. Uh, I think they're selling it in 2-ounce bottles. So when you order it, remember to use the code Robbins and you'll get 15% off. I keep mentioning that. I know I sound like a commercial, but that's okay. I don't want people to spend more than they have to. I got that from them as a special deal. Um, so once you get it, refrigerate it, keep it refrigerated, and take it out. Now, one of the reasons for using pure oxygen is you want to remove all nitrogen. Um, Remember, air, if any air gets in, air is 79% nitrogen. And I was joking around with my buddy Robert and Jim, and I said, if you take a nitrogen, like a nitric oxide product, because there are plenty of nitric oxide products out there, right after you take some OG, the ozonated glycerin, and you jump up and down, will you explode? And the answer is yes. No, no, I don't know. It's not an easy thing to do. And I don't know that you'll make nitroglycerin in your body, which is, as we all know, highly explosive. All right. But um, but you have to consider that if you're using an oxygen extractor, an oxygen concentrator, it is a very bad way to make this. You want to try to make it in a closed situation. And oh, this is very important. If you're going to make it yourself, cannot have it near any heat or fire. You will get an explosion. Not an explosion, but it can cause a fire. It's you got to be very careful with this. I think I'm giving you the idea why I'm not making it. I've got better things to do with my time and not risk anything, including burning my house down or exploding it. One of the things that Promolife did, and I thought this was a brilliant idea of theirs, is they sent out their ozonated glycerin to an independent lab who performed a Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy spectroscope. I can't say it. My mouth ain't working right. A spectroscope test, which they'll get back just to find out exactly what's in it. Were there any other foreign particles in it? Any other things in it that we don't know? Nobody else has thought to do this. And while you'll find ozonated glycerin, OG products now from other companies that are jumping on the, financial bandwagon, one of the things and makes me happy to have Promolife as one of my sponsors is they understand what I mean, that how serious I am about doctor do no harm. I take that very seriously. Here in New York State, they don't care if I kill you with a pharmaceutical. But if I hurt one person with ozone, I'm out of business. Now, they're also going to do testing on this to see the half-life of it. Again, we're not recommending weighing it to try to prove that it's been ozonated. They're getting 550 ORPs, and now they're looking to hit, and they're starting to hit 600 positive ORPs, and that's very important, showing that their methods, okay, are beneficial. So we're going to have to, there's no way I'm finishing this show today. I'm just letting you all know that. You're going to have to listen next week to part 2. Please don't hesitate. Tell friends to listen to part 1 before you listen to part 2. But we're going to talk about various home uses, things you can do at home, like nebulizing ozonated glycerin and how to do that right, making nasal sprays, even eye drops, though I'm a little bit concerned there. How to use it for facial care. Everybody take a good look at my skin. You see all these age spots from all the times I've been in the sun in Mexico and everything. Uh, we're going to be using it there. It takes claim about 8 weeks, and all those age spots will disappear safely. Okay, without using those harmful, dangerous chemicals to do that. Um, uh, you could use it to surface disinfecting and eardrops, and we're going to experiment with toenail fungus and stuff like that. It's just got, I mean, there's so many papers on it. It's just amazing. I'm probably going to have to do 3 shows on it. I don't even know if we'll be able to finish this in just 2 shows. If you want to reach me, because we're going to be using this intravenously in the office, and I believe we can help you with viral problems tremendously, like herpes and Epstein-Barr. There's papers showing completely inactivates the COVID virus, showing it has to work then on all viruses. Stay tuned, but you can call my office in the city at 212-581-0101. 212-581-0101. My website is Ozone Doctor, OZONEDOCTR.net, N-E-T. And my email address, if you want to email me, is OzoneDoctor, OZONEDOCTR, at yahoo.com, YAHOO, yahoo.com. You can also you should also go to doctorsbiome.com and remember to put the code radio20 in, get 20% off, and then later on use the code Howard35 and then auto ship to get 20% off from that point on. And remember to go to Promo Life at 888-742-3404 and mention Robbins, and you'll get 15% your order for this ozonated glycerin. Please listen to the future shows, and I'll tell you how to use it. Everybody, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for listening, and please tell your friends about YouTube, Functional Medicine with Dr. Robbins, and this show here on Voice America. Everybody stay well, stay healthy, and stay safe, and we'll be back again next week. Bye now.